Hey, friends! Just so you know, we enjoy the swear word and we rely on good old fashioned humor to get through some seriously dark subject matter. At no time do we intend any disrespect toward the victims or families of the victims in the cases we cover. Also, be sure to listen to the end for a few palate cleansing bloopers to reset your mindset. And with that, we thank you for listening and we hope you enjoy.
Hey friends, welcome to Crime Will Tell. I'm Jamie.
I'm Carrie.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. The sun is shining. It's gorgeous here. I've got the spring fever.
Yeah, it feels great.
I got my bourbon.
Yep, couple of nerds just recording on a Friday evening,
You bet.
drinking bourbon. Cheers, my friend. Clink.
Cheers, clink.
Boop. Okay, so we've had a couple heavy cases lately.
Yes, the last two episodes were fucking heavy.
Just a
Yes.
little intense. And
Yep.
so I really wanted to try and kind of lighten things up a little bit. And I am in no way trying to minimize or gloss over the fact that someone lost their life in this case, but it just kind of has a completely different tone than some of our previous cases. And
Okay.
so wanted to kind of, just cleanse our palate a little bit from the heaviness.
Thank you. I need a little bit of, lighter fare within the realm of death.
Yeah. And I will apologize in advance for the white trash voice that I might that I might use throughout this episode. So
Oh,
just strap in.
I am so excited.
Oh shoot. So
Before we jump in though, I've got some
yeah.
Brothers Babble.
Oh shit. Okay. Go
Yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
I've got some Brothers Babble and just Brother was particularly babbly with this
Okay.
one. So this
Let's
is in
hear it.
reference to the Dwayne Demke case.
Okay.
And essentially, what was happening was, I'm pretty sure he was traveling and he was sitting at a bar and he was just texting streams of consciousness and in comments as he was listening to the episode. It started off with, "Hey, I'm listening to the Dwayne Demke case. Don't spoil it though. I'm only 22 minutes in." And then the babbling started. First comment was, FYI, I have 0 North Face hats, which surprised me. And because I said basically my entire family has 100 horse face hats. Nope, nope. North Face hats.
Horse face fats.
I
What?
don't I don't know. I don't know.
Wee.
So then he said, James better lay off sideburns. Then he says, "What? A boat trailer in the bed of a truck? Impossible." Uh, Calling shenanigans. Jet ski trailers are still too big for the bed of a truck. And then he goes, "Ah, shit. He's taken a body straight out on the water." Then he said, because I like to use the word stoled, because it's not a word, but it's fun. And he goes, "Stoled? No, that ain't a word." And I said, It is a word." And he goes, "Negative, Ghost Rider." It's not a word. And then he goes, "Jason Stedman. I fucking knew it." Which is funny because nobody knew that name until like towards the end. Even the investigators, it took them a really long time to get the name Jason Stedman, but
Right.
brother knew it.
He's on it.
So he was really enjoying the episode and just his babbly stream of consciousness with the episode.
Okay. Well, I like when he's drinking, he gets babbly.
He does get babbly when he's drinking.
So, are you ready for this ride?
Oh, yes, yes.
We're going to start in a town called Cameron, Missouri, which is a small town in Missouri. And the current population is just under 9,000. And this case takes place in the 80s. So I believe it was probably about half that at the time. But currently it's around 9,000. It's around 50 miles north of Kansas City. And it's right off of Interstate I-35, which goes north and south, and then Highway 36, which cuts across Missouri east and west. So I've stopped to pee in Cameron many, many times in my lifetime. But just kind of setting the scene, it's a small interstate town with a prison and it's surrounded by a lot of farmland.
Gotta have the prison.
So that's kind of where we're starting things.
Okay.
So we're going to go back to 1986 and talk about a fella named Lonnie Eugene Wolford.
I am already in love with this.
Yes, yes. Who was 35 at the time. And he worked as a roofer.
Okay.
He was married to his wife, Debbie, and they had 2 kids who were 5 and 2 at that time.
Okay, littles.
Yes. Unfortunately, Debbie was having an affair with a guy named Ricky Lee Blair,
Debbie.
who was 30 years old, and he'd actually previously worked for Lonnie doing some of the roofing work and had been a friend of his.
Does it make me a bad person that I'm already envisioning a Jerry Springer episode?
No, you're spot fucking on.
Okay.
Lonnie was obviously really pissed about this affair. I mean, especially because this was
So he found out.
Yeah, he knew about it, but I mean, this was like a younger guy and a guy that he knew that used to work for him. And so obviously this just had all the fixins for a white trash shit pie.
All the fixins. Yep.
Unfortunately, they filed for divorce. And so they started dealing with the typical divorce proceedings and custody battle, which obviously comes along with that. So,
yeah. Poor kids.
Yeah. So this beautiful love triangle really took a turn on February 3rd of 1986. So while Lonnie was going off about her affair with Ricky, Debbie somehow managed to turn on a tape recorder and record his rant.
And we all know that was a legit straight up tape recorder. But they were like the size of a bread bag. How did Lonnie not see this tape
I
recorder?
mean, who knows? Who knows?
She was somehow, some way able to record said conversation.
She managed to have a cassette. So she had it all set for Casey Kasem's top 40, but she was like, you know what? This is better. So he was going on and on about killing her and killing Ricky.
Oh, that's not a good look.
He said, and I quote, per court documents, I'm not going to let you see Rick Blair in my house. There's no way. I'll kill you first. You can tell your lawyer that, but there's no way you can prove it. And I'm serious. Which is fucking hilarious because she was recording the entire goddamn conversation.
And it ended up in a court document.
He's like, you can't prove it, dummy. Then I think probably trying to goat Lonnie here a little bit. She asked him what would happen if she had a relationship with Ricky after the divorce was final. Like, what are your thoughts on that, bitch? So she was just kind of like getting him to
goading
him to go on a little bit. And so Lonnie, the beautiful wordsmith that he is, said, quote, what will happen to you, dearie? I'll blow your motherfucking brains out. That's what'll happen to you. And him too, and me too. We'll just all 3 go together.
This isn't funny.
I know.
I'm sorry. It's funny, but it's not funny. Like, talking about death and threatening the life of your soon-to-be ex-wife and her lover, not cool.
Right.
I mean, not cool that there's a lover, but the whole situation is just fucked. It's just an absolute clusterfuck. Not funny.
Right.
But I can't stop seeing Jerry Springer in my head.
And he went on. So he said, and don't think I wouldn't do it, because I would. My kids are taken away. I don't got nothing to live for anyway. End quote.
I mean, that's actually that's legit. Like, a lot of parents do feel that way. Like when they're going through a nasty divorce and they feel like they're on the cusp of having their children taken away.
What else can happen that's worse than what's already?
Exactly.
So he said he wasn't going to allow Ricky or, quote, any other scurvy motherfucker like that to be around his children. And if they are, I'll take that nice little 12 gauge of mine and blow your face from here to kingdom come. End quote.
Scurvy. Love it.
Scurvy motherfucker.
I just want to, it makes me want to be like, arr, you scurvy motherfucker.
I got scurvy and me good wooden leg. Just lots of threats followed up with confirmations that he's not fucking kidding. So none of this is good.
No, it's not good. But also kind of good job on her for figuring out a way to get this on tape, because that's no joke.
So 4 days after this tangent from Lonnie, Debbie decided that she's gonna leave him for good. And of course, he tries to get her to stay. It's just this back and forth. I'm sure he was saying that he didn't mean any of the threats that he'd said, but it's time. So she decides to move on. So she takes her kids and she actually ends up going first to a women's shelter in St. Joseph, Missouri.
Was this a domestic violence
Yes.
shelter or was this a
No,
homeless
yeah.
it was so she was
Yeah.
worried.
And so she was trying to protect her and her kids.
And let me get this straight. Lonnie, even though Debbie was the one that cheated, Lonnie still wanted the relationship to
Yeah, yeah,
stay
he kept
together.
begging
Okay.
her to stay and was trying to make it work and didn't want her to leave, yada yada. But so Debbie ends up moving in with a friend named Marcia Sherrill, who she was another woman that she had met at the shelter. And so she had invited Debbie to move in with her until she could kind of get on her feet and find a place. But Ricky ended up moving in as well, which probably wasn't in the works from the beginning. But so the plan was for them to live there for a month or so until they could find their own place. And so this friend Marcia later said that these dreamy roommates that she had very kindly offered to help just sat around and smoked weed all day and had a lot of really loud sex.
Oh,
Gross.
poor Marcia.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're gonna have loud sex, especially when someone's kind enough to let you stay, you fucking rein it
Yes,
in.
kinda like, be courteous.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, fucking put a duct tape over that shit.
Or w do it
Um,
when she's not
s
around, for fuck's sake.
so they moved in with her because she offered them a place to stay so that they could get out of the
Right.
shelter, and then Debbie also then had
Mhm.
Ricky
Yeah.
move in? And so Debbie was continuing the relationship with
Yes.
Ricky.
Which never
Okay.
ended. It was
It was just ongoing.
yeah.
Okay.
So Marcia said that she had also seen Ricky spanking Debbie's kids on numerous occasions and that he would just look at them with absolute disgust. It was pretty clear that like the kids just were kind of meh,
We're a problem
there.
for
Yeah.
Ricky.
And so it seemed obvious to her that he didn't like them youngins. And they also made them sleep on the floor outside of the bedroom while like Ricky and Debbie slept in the bed in the bedroom. Probably so they could have loud, gross
Aw.
sex.
So they were just sleeping, like, in the
Yeah, just
hallway?
like right outside the door.
Aw.
Allegedly.
Oh, I don't like that.
And at that time too, Debbie had also been bragging to several people that when she had gone to get some of her stuff from Lonnie's house, that she'd actually stolen his computer. And was just kind of bragging about it, like she'd taken some stuff and just being a little bit shitty about things.
So Debbie's a twat because she's first of all, she stepped out on Lonnie. Whether Lonnie was a good husband and father, whatever,
Right.
irrelevant. She stepped out on Lonnie before ending the relationship
Mhm.
with him. That was what created all of this fucking shit in the first place.
Yeah, she's just not helping herself in this
She's definitely
situation.
not helping her. Which, if she was worried enough about her safety to go to a shelter, why is she now being vocal about stealing computers? And why is she doing that? Because that's just going to piss
Exactly.
Lonnie
It's
off.
gonna get back to him somehow, piss him off even yeah, so just everything about this, I'm like, "What?" Marcia had her fill of Debbie and Ricky living in her house, and so she
Mm,
finally got to a
hmm.
point where she just asked them to leave. I think she was, like, leaving town at some point and was like, "When I get back, please be gone." And so they ended up moving into a trailer in a mobile home park in St. Joseph. Meanwhile, Lonnie is still reaching out and trying to get Debbie to come back to him. And he'd even shown up at her
Wow.
work in Cameron multiple times trying to talk to her. Like he still was just like, please, let's make this work. So she at one point had to go to his house to pick up some tax documents that had been sent there. And he told her that he knew where she was living now. So,
Okay. So
ugh.
he was starting to do some stalking, maybe, because back in 86, it's not like you've got a whole lot of social media to help you out.
Exactly. So if you can't
Mm.
already sense it, Carrie, the crap
Hmm.
stew is about to boil over.
Yeah, I see this.
So on April 10th of 1986, which was about 2 months after the
Mhm.
rant from Lonnie that Debbie had recorded.
Mhm.
Debbie hears a knock on the door of her trailer. It was around 9:30 that night, and when she opens the door, of course it's Lonnie, and he was like, "I need to speak with you and Ricky." Fortunately, their kids were staying with Debbie's parents in Iowa, so they were not home at this time.
Oh, good. Something tells me Lonnie reached his limit.
Yeah. So she was like, well, Ricky is on the couch sleeping, but that she would go outside with Lonnie and talk to him. And he was like, nope. And so he pushed his big ass through the door into the trailer. She noticed that he kind of was keeping his left hand
Mm.
behind his back. And so she kind of, reached around real quick, and she felt what she thought was a gun. And so he was like, whoops, busted. And so he ends up pulling out a sawed off 12 gauge shotgun from behind his back. And he just like shoved it right in her face. And so she
Ooh,
starts,
backed
well,
off.
no, she actually started fighting him, trying to
Oh.
get the gun away. And they both ended up falling on the floor, which I'm sure rocked the whole trailer as they're rolling around.
If they're all on one side, that's a
Yeah.
problem.
So she yells for Rick Van Winkle, who is somehow just napping on the goddamn couch and not.
Like, this hasn't woken
Yeah.
him.
So she's
Okay.
like, Ricky, wake up. And so he jumps up from the couch and he starts across the living room to where, Debbie and Lonnie are wrestling around. And Lonnie started to stand up. And at some point in this commotion, Ricky was shot in the chest and ended up collapsing onto the kitchen floor of the trailer.
Lonnie stood up and swung the 12 gauge shotgun around, pointed it at Ricky,
Shot him in
and
the fucking
shot
chest.
him
Yeah.
in the chest. So he did exactly what he told Debbie he was going to do on February 3rd. Okay. Well, at least Lonnie is a man of his
Yeah, he
word.
is true to what he says, Scouts fucking honor. So, after hearing the shotgun blast and seeing Ricky fall, Debbie ends up grabbing the gun from Lonnie, and he said, "He's dead and you'll be next," according to Debbie. So she pointed the gun like right at Lonnie because she, gotten it away from him, and she pointed it right at him, and he threatened her, and so she pulled the trigger, but the gun jammed. Nothing happened.
Oh, man.
So she's like, fuck. So she runs down the hall of the trailer to the bathroom and then shuts the door behind her.
She had the courage to take this gun, point it at her ex husband, and pull the
Mhm.
trigger. If I were in that situation, like, think about it. Like, try to put yourself in that situation. You're running off of fear,
Right.
right? She just saw him shoot and presumably kill Ricky. He turns and says, "You're
And
next."
she tried to fight
She
him
was
the
able to,
second she opened the front door.
yeah, and she like took that gun away, pointed it at him, and pulled the trigger. Fight or flight, right? Your natural response to fear and danger, fight or flight. And she chose to fight. And also, shotguns are so goddamn loud, aren't they?
Yeah, a small space like that, I can't imagine how loud that was and intense. But so, like, she had gotten the gun away, so she still had the gun, ran into the bathroom. She tosses the gun under the vanity in the bathroom. Lonnie easily just busts through the bathroom door. So he ends up grabbing her by the hair and starts like literally banging her head against his knees, just beating the absolute shit out of her. So somehow Debbie gets away from Lonnie and is able to run out of the bathroom and eventually get out of the trailer. So she like hurdles Lonnie, gets out of the bathroom, is like, fuck, Rick's dead. Ah, I'm out of here. Gets out.
Jesus, she is
She is a
wily.
tough little bitch. So
Yeah.
she runs to the trailer next door and she's screaming, "My God, you killed him!" Like as she's running while banging on the front door. So the lucky next door neighbors are Robert and Jeannie Anderson, who were, I think, just having a nice quiet evening at home together.
Drinking their tea in their,
And so
yeah.
they answer the door when she's knocking, and when they open the door, Debbie just rushes in, rushes past them, and she runs to a back bedroom which belonged to their kids. Their kids weren't there. I don't know where they were, but again, thank God more children were not around for this. So she runs back to this bedroom, shuts the door, and hides under the bed. So she is obviously just scared out of her goddamn mind.
She is absolutely fucking shit herself.
So
Guaranteed.
the Andersons had already called the police because they'd heard a gunshot and they'd heard Debbie screaming. So they had already called police at this point. But now she's hiding in their house and they have no clue what the fuck is going on. So when Debbie had come in, they'd locked, shut the door, locked it. But next thing they know, the front door of their trailer comes flying open and Lonnie busts the fuck in. And he's like, "Have you seen Debbie? She likely swirled in here like an F5 tornado. Can't miss her."
Stop it. Stop
No,
it.
he did. He
Stop
didn't say
it.
that. I made him say it.
I was like,
So then Robert Anderson, the neighbor at this time, was actually phoning police again. Like he was calling police back, like, "We really need help." And so, like, as Lonnie's busting in, he's on the phone. Lonnie pulls out a giant buck knife and ends up stabbing him in the back.
he stabbed Robert
Just the
Anderson?
neighbor. So he stabs him, and then Lonnie starts demanding to know where Debbie is. So Jeannie Anderson is trying to protect Debbie, and so she's like, "We have no clue what you're talking about, and that like you need to get the hell out of our house," and that they had already called police. So Lonnie then takes the phone, yanks it off the wall, and said that he didn't care. I'm also picturing this as like a yellow wall phone from
Oh my
back
god,
in
I
the
was
day.
picturing the
Yeah,
same
with the
exact.
big,
And
huge
there's
cord that you could, like,
yes,
take
and
everywhere.
there's floral
Yes,
wallpaper on the
yes, like
wall.
okay, so you're
Yes.
with me.
Yeah, and there's a picture of Jesus on the other side. It's slightly crooked, but it's got the
Honk
feather.
if you love Jesus. Boop, boop. So he yanks the phone off, throws it on the floor, and then he turns to Robert Anderson and says, "You're dead." And he starts stabbing him with this knife.
Jesus. This guy didn't do anything. Oh my god. You come up in my
Yeah.
house
Oh,
and you
hell no.
hell no.
So Robert ends up grabbing a beer bottle that was on a table and he starts just swinging it at Lonnie. I think just trying, if anything, to get some space, between him
Yeah.
and knife wielding giant Lonnie. Then he picks up the coffee table and uses it kind of like a battering ram and he ends up knocking Lonnie down with it. As Lonnie falls, he is able to kind of get away. But like during this redneck scuffle, Jeannie was able to run into their bedroom. And after knocking Lonnie down, Robert was able to run to the bedroom as well with his wife. And he ends up shutting the door and sitting against it because it's his only defense to try and protect him and his wife. Lonnie chases down the hall and tries breaking down the door, screaming, "I'm going to kill you, motherfuckers." Fortunately, like the calls of fucking angels, they started hearing police sirens at that time. Lonnie, hearing the sirens, decides to take off out of the trailer.
I am fucking riveted. What
Yeah.
happened next? What happened
Okay,
next?
so Steve Gum, who was one of the responding officers, noticed a blue truck speeding out of the trailer park, going the wrong direction on a one-way street, and the dingleberry that was driving the truck almost hit one of the police cars head on, like as they were trying to enter the park. So they're like, "What the fuck is going on?" Is like before they even get there. So they were able to get the license plate number of the truck. Spoiler alert, it was Lonnie. But
Oh,
he ended up getting away, like he sped out of the trailer park, but
drats.
zoinks. So he ended up being pulled over later that night and was arrested. The arresting officer found the buck knife that he had used to stab Robert on him, like as he was being pulled over. So they're like, aha! The officers later said that Lonnie was just like pretty quiet and didn't really seem all that upset about what had happened. Like just kind of just like nonchalant about it. And he ended up being held on a $500,000 bond. But it was just kind of, he was just like, what up? Following an autopsy, it was confirmed that Ricky Blair died of massive gunshot wounds to the neck and the chest. So, I mean,
So he was shot more than once?
no, because it was a
Oh, it
gunshot,
just
like, it just,
completely
like
annihilated him. Yeah.
Robert Anderson ended up being stabbed 3 times, and he was in intensive care to recover from his injuries, which included a collapsed lung. So
That's
it's
painful.
really, really lucky that he survived or wasn't,
Yeah.
more severely hurt. Debbie also survived, which I'm sure really pissed Lonnie off because I imagine once he got started, he wanted both of them gone.
Yep.
So Lonnie ends up being charged with first degree murder, first degree assault, and first degree burglary.
What did he steal?
It was for breaking into the other trailer.
Oh, okay.
So his public defender stated that Lonnie was going to plead not guilty due to mental illness or defect. Surprisingly, the prosecution chose not to seek the death penalty in the case, but it didn't give the reasoning behind the decision. So I'm not really sure why they didn't move forward with that.
Mm.
So his defense, when questioning witnesses, was really trying to get them to say that Lonnie had, been acting crazy before this event or just hadn't been himself, but they all were like, "No, he was the same old Lonnie, like no big deal." Mrs. Anderson, Jeannie Anderson, the neighbor, took the stand and she stated that Lonnie acted pretty damn calm. Even like as he's breaking into their trailer like the fucking Kool-Aid man.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh
Oh, no. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And he even said he didn't care. Like when she told him that they'd called the police multiple times, he was like, "I don't care." And she said it seemed like he knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, he had a focus. He killed Ricky. He was gonna kill Debbie. Do you think that he was gonna kill
I
himself?
don't know. I mean, maybe. I think if there had been time for him to,
Because that's what he said in February, right? When she
like, I think
reported
things
it,
would have been a little bit different if he would have killed them and like the police weren't. I think the police is what made him
that
leave.
they weren't a
But if he
variable.
had gotten
Yeah,
out to his truck or even just been in the trailer with his dead wife and her boyfriend, I think that he maybe would
he
have.
might have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the police
Fuck.
sirens kind of sent him out the door and changed maybe. I don't know. So during the trial there was a 10-woman, 2-man jury. Right?
How did the prosecution
Yeah,
allow
I don't
that?
know. Um so Lonnie's attorney stated during the opening arguments that they would provide evidence showing that Debbie absolutely just destroyed Lonnie's life by having an affair with Ricky and allowing Ricky to abuse their children.
Okay. Allow me to
Okay.
interject. I actually believe, or let me rephrase that. I don't think it's far fetched to think that Lonnie truly felt like his wife cheating on him with a man that physically spanked, because that's all we know that he's
Mhm.
done, allegedly, to the children, made Lonnie feel like his life was ruined. And in no way am I saying because Debbie cheated, that gave Lonnie the right to inflict all this horrible physical
Right.
violence and mental
Right.
torture. Like, that is never okay. But I can definitely see how a man or a woman would feel like their life has completely collapsed when they found out that their spouse like cheated on them, and then their spouse was like, "Yeah, I don't want to be married to you anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and like not be married to you anymore." Like, I can see how somebody would think my life just completely fucking just crashed around me.
If the accusations about Ricky were true that those kids were possibly being treated poorly by him, that's a whole other level
That's a
of
whole
yeah,
nother
yeah.
layer.
The defense attorney said that, Lonnie had become very confused and distraught, which doesn't excuse his actions, but it just kind of
No.
gives a little indicator as to where his mindset was at that time.
Yeah, the defense is doing their job. They're trying to justify Lonnie's
Right.
actions.
And so Lonnie had allegedly gone to Debbie's trailer that night to help her because he said
No.
that she had called him and told him that Ricky had beaten her up. he had his shotgun with him in case Debbie was in danger. Like, this is kind of what he told his attorney. And
Okay.
but then, she tried to get the gun away, and that Debbie actually in the scuffle was the one who pulled the trigger and killed Ricky. So he was kind of saying, I showed up there to protect her, and she's actually the one that killed Ricky.
Well, this is an interesting twist.
He was like, I was just there to rescue my lady. And so,
Except Robert Anderson.
yeah, and the tape recordings of Lonnie threatening to kill Debbie and Ricky were played in court,
What?
which
Yeah.
I'm sure were probably incredibly alarming to the jurors, because you just to hear, like, okay,
Yeah.
he's saying, I'm not fucking kidding about doing exactly what fucking happened.
If you think I'm kidding, I can tell you right now, I am not
Yeah.
kidding.
So, a forensic chemist testified that human blood was found on a windbreaker suite that Lonnie was wearing the night of the murder, as well as on the shotgun found in the trailer, which just kind of tied everything together as far as Lonnie being in the trailer and confirming which weapon had been used.
When you say blood evidence, was it like, no, it was
Yeah, so it's just
1986.
human blood,
So it was
basically.
just human blood. You didn't shoot a rabbit with
Right, but
this.
they found the gun was still underneath the vanity in the bathroom. Ricky was dead, so it's just like, okay. It was all very easy to piece together. So Debbie ended up testifying that while she was on the floor trying to wrestle the gun away from Lonnie, she lost her grip on the gun. And she said that as she was on the ground, she kind of looked up. She could see Lonnie's legs straightening, like he was standing up. And then the next thing she knew, the gun was going off. So he's kind of saying, we were wrestling, her hand was on the gun. She's saying, I was on the ground, I saw him stand and then heard the gun go off. And she said that as Ricky moved like towards her and Lonnie, where they were kind of scuffling, that he had his hands up, kind of in a like, please don't shoot me position. And that he was only about a foot away from the barrel of the gun when he was shot.
Ooh.
So,
He did not stand a
yeah.
chance. So we've got a good old fashioned he said, she said.
Exactly. So the defense tried to paint it like, she had used the phone call to get Lonnie to come to the trailer so that they could rob him. And she said that Ricky had never hit her and that she never told Lonnie that he did. They're just both kind of giving conflicting reports on what actually happened. If it was a setup and they were planning on robbing Lonnie, Ricky taking a fucking nap when Lonnie showed up and neither of them having a weapon doesn't make very much sense.
That's exactly where I was going.
I think Lonnie's just trying to come up with anything that he can to make himself look less like a crazy, jealous husband.
Soon to be
Yeah.
ex, yeah.
So Lonnie actually took the stand as well, which is pretty rare in cases. He stated that Debbie had called him crying, saying that Ricky had slapped the hell out of her. And he was like, hang on, Puddin' Pop, I'm on my way. I got you. He said he knocked a couple times on the door, but no one answered. So he ended up looking through the window of the trailer and he could see Ricky sleeping on the couch. Also, is Ricky the heaviest goddamn sleeper like on the planet?
I don't understand
I
that.
would
Yeah.
wake up if someone even like dropped a pen, let alone someone knocking on the door. I would be like, whoa, 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 what? But Lonnie had assumed that Ricky had forced his way into the trailer and had just knocked the heck out of Debbie.
Because of the phone call Debbie
Yeah.
allegedly made
And
to
so
Lonnie.
so
Okay.
this is what prompted him to go get his loaded shotgun out of his truck and go back to the door.
Oh, okay. So he's saying he went to the trailer, he knocked on the door, nobody answered. He peered in the window. Lonnie was
Or
laying on the
Ricky
couch
was on
sleep.
yeah.
Excuse me, Ricky was laying on the couch. So then Lonnie was like, "Oh hells no!" And so he goes back to his truck, grabs his shotgun,
And
and
then
then
goes
goes
back.
back to the trailer, and then knocks on the door again. So why didn't Debbie answer the door the first time?
Exactly. So he says when he goes back to the door, Debbie answered the door and he was like, "Why is Ricky here?" And so then she pushed him in the chest and said, "I'll talk to you later," and tried shutting the door. So again, this is all coming from Lonnie. So then Debbie saw the gun. She started screaming and yelling for Ricky to get up. and then started trying to wrestle the gun away. Lonnie, the sexy beast that he was wearing a knee brace because he had recently been in a car accident. And so he said that his bad knee just gave out on him, causing them both to fall on the floor. Lonnie also said that his glass eye caused him to lose.
Okay, stop. Okay. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
We You choose now? You should have led with the fact that
Nope.
our alleged perpetrator has a
Nope, I'm
glass
saving
eye.
it. So, he
Oh
said that
my
his
god.
glass eye caused him to lose track of where Ricky was in the room. So
I just have this image of his glass eye fucking spinning it around in the
sh
socket. I can't
shooting
even.
down the hall when he's, like, trying to look in the living room.
I see you out of the corner of my
"Ricky Lee Blair, where the fuck are you? Boop, boop."
You were on the couch, you're not on the couch anymore. Where the fuck are you?
Yeah. So, apparently, Ricky had moved toward him on
Sorry.
his glass eye side, and
No,
so he felt
no.
extra threatened, and he
Oh my
jerked the
god.
gun away while Debbie's finger was on the trigger and the gun went off. So basically, he's saying it was all Debbie's fault.
Oh, if only Deb's finger wasn't on that
He
trigger.
also, like in other statements, he makes it sound like Ricky was grabbing the end of the gun when he was shot. So it's really pretty unclear what actually happened because I don't know that Debbie actually saw the shooting. According to her, Lonnie's saying that her hand was on the gun, but maybe who fucking knows? Good gravy. Regardless of how it happened, Ricky got fucking shot and fell to the ground. And he said that Debbie started scooting away with the gun down the hallway. He followed her and she was taunting him.
Okay. All
And
right.
then the rest of the night after that was just a blur to him. He could only kind of remember bits and pieces, which is so handy. And he said he doesn't know why he went to the Andersons' trailer other than he just had to find Debbie. He doesn't remember stabbing Robert, but he said that he was just fighting back after he tried to stop him. Yeah, because you just fucking busted into his home, threatening him and his wife, you jackalope. Like, I don't know why he was just kind of like, I had to fight back.
It was just he was just trying to minimize? No. Minimize his involvement in all of the things that went down, trying to minimize convenient lapse of memory
Right,
when it comes to stabbing Mr. Anderson.
right,
I wasn't there,
right.
shocking, but I just don't. First of all, I don't think Lonnie's telling the full truth. I don't think Debbie's telling the full truth either. However, the question is, did Lonnie's defense create reasonable doubt as to who truly pulled the trigger? So if Debbie and Lonnie were wrestling, Lonnie's going to say Debbie pulled the trigger. Debbie's going to say Lonnie pulled the trigger, but is there reasonable doubt to say if I was a juror in that trial, I'd be like, who the fuck actually pulled the
Right.
trigger? We got a true Quagmire here,
But
you know
then
what I'm
he did
saying?
chase her and
He
end up
did chase
stabbing
her.
another man, probably planning to kill him. So on February 6th of 1987, Lonnie was found guilty of second-degree murder, first-degree assault, and first-degree burglary. So they ended up changing the murder charge from first degree to second. This was after the jury deliberated for about 7 hours. So it was a pretty quick turnaround.
That was, yeah.
And so he was sentenced to 30 years for Ricky's murder, 15 years for stabbing Robert Anderson, and 8 years for breaking into the Andersons' trailer for a total of 53 years. So Lonnie showed pretty much no emotion or reaction as the verdict was read. And as he was being led out of the courtroom, he shot like a quick glance over to Debbie, but that was really kind of the only moment of anything that he showed.
Yeah.
So to top this all off, on April 9th of 1987, about a year after the murders, Lonnie breaks his fucking back after falling from a chair while trying to change the TV channel in the rec room while he was being held in the Buchanan County Jail.
He can't catch a break.
Bum knee, broken spine, glass eye. Fucking Lonnie. This guy is just top notch.
My God.
So Lonnie filed some appeals for some dumb shit that I won't go into because they were all denied.
It's not worth it. Yeah.
But so that's the unfortunate murder of Ricky Lee Blair and the trailer park love triangle.
So is Lonnie still alive and in
I couldn't
jail?
find anything on him. Nothing. Yeah.
Seriously? Ugh. These obscure cases are sometimes the
Yeah. I
worst.
tried so hard. I was like, where is he? What does he look like?
Did Debbie like what is she
I don't
doing?
know.
Like where are the kids? Like I hope the kids are
I
okay.
know. Yeah.
And also Debbie's kind of like she's a twat. Like
Yeah.
don't
Nothing about this situation
look.
was good. Like, it's,
Nothing about this is good. And truly the victims are the kids because now dad's in jail. Some guy named Ricky that they're familiar with that allegedly wasn't very nice to them is dead. Mom is traumatized. Not good.
yeah, it was a real pickle.
R.I.P. Ricky.
Thank you for listening to my story.
Mm.
And to everyone who is listening and sharing the podcast, we appreciate you. So, wherever you guys listen to your podcast, please rate the show. 5-star ratings or the highest ratings are greatly appreciated. And we're on YouTube now. So if you guys want to
Yeah.
subscribe to our channel, we're also on we're on YouTube, and then we're also on YouTube Music now. So if you would want to like us, follow us, subscribe there, we would appreciate that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. So anyway, with that, goodbye, Carrie.
Goodbye, Jamie.
Do you have 2 nipples for a dime?
No, but I have 3.
Let's focus on the llama.
We have to talk about it.
Where am I?
Okay, let me know what I owe, and then I won't pay it.
Correct.
I'm pretty. Pretty stupid.
Hey.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Throwing your bourbon down? It's fine.
Oh, for the love of God.
Bibbidi-bop.
Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
I don't know. Bye.